Okay, hello. Cool. This is kind of cool. Get to do a breakdown of someone's requested video for IBJJF. So thanks. And we could just talk about just some concepts. I'm not a geek guy, so obviously some of my takes are going to be trash. But I think I kind of understand what's going on in terms of like frames and structures and stuff like that. So we're going to be breaking down the opportunities for the person in the blue gi. Right off rip, just trying to pull, person pulls guard, that's fine. I think the thing I want to really hone in on is like where the actual frames are. So right now, the person in the white gi has a collar grip, and I think they're trying to go for like a sleeve grip of some kind. But really, the only frames they have are their legs, right? And you're going to see multiple times within this match that the legs are really the only thing keeping the guard player safe. So we could take a wallach, and at this point, I think the right hand's kind of free-ish, but you got to break that. And the rationale is because once you break that, you can start punching an underhook here. You can start blasting your knee slices here. This grip here, actually a huge mistake, right? Like you're going to see in this next few sequence that this person who's playing guard is pulling really heavily on the lapel, which is like not what you want for guard retention. You need to like make this a stiff arm frame in order to like frame them away, right? But if you are able to punch an underhook here and blast through a knee slice, even if they stiff arm frame, you can kind of like angle your body so your hips are what's actually passing instead of your upper body, and you just like fall into the pass, right? So very common gi mistake is people will pull, and it's because they want to like increase this, like to remove the slack from your body, right? They feel like they're in control with a giant push pull kind of motion, but if you negate the frames that are keeping you away, you can for sure pass. So in this instance, right, the knees pinching together and the off balancing is really difficult to deal with, but like the legs are the main things that are really framing the passer away, right? And then yeah, this hand grip, flared elbow, very fucking annoying, right? And I feel like at this point that was pretty close, right? You can kind of get a knee through, but the only thing saving this person is that leg across. So, there are opportunities if you have your right arm free, punch that underhook, to like shoot a cross side knee slice, right, where your knee actually goes on the other side. That is an opportunity. But the number one thing is you really have to delete these frames, right? You have to delete these grips, and then you have to delete their frames. So here we're kind of cooking. This is good, right? This, eliminating this leg. That means this leg is out of the equation. The only frame you have to deal with is this. You obviously have to get your arms back, which is kind of sucks and is like a fight. But like you've done step one of passing any guard, right? You have to pin a hip. There's no way you could be an athletic freak and try to like flank, and that would like maybe work. But against a really good guard player, you have to delete the frames. You have to pin a hip to negate one of their leg frames, and then you dismantle it. You take it up one problem at a time, right? And like at this point, yeah, it's not great because it's the knee shield is the only thing. Again, like I understand it's probably hard to free your right hand from the sleeve grip, and this person's constantly pulling down on you. Another thing you could do to like kind of conserve some energy here, right? See, as they're pulling you down, you could pinch your knees together and have your left knee act as an anchor on the back of their hamstring. And what that does is it kind of prevents a lot of the pressure from pulling your head down, because they're going for a balloon sweep, right? They want to pull your head down, kick your hips up high, and you go wee over the top. But within this position, if you install your knee as a wedge behind their hamstring, you can actually kind of anchor to them. All right, and then yeah, the toes and the gis is really fucking annoying. I don't. Yeah. Okay, blasting through knee slice. That's good. You're able to pin a hip, and then in this exchange, I think you actually get your sleeve out. You establish your own grip. You're anchored to them. And then yeah, this push pull is very annoying. That's nice, right? Land right into half guard. I think this resets. And then from half guard, there's tons of material out there. You could look at Gordon Ryan's kind of half guard passing. There's a lot of gi variants with it as well. I'm just going to skip ahead to where they reset you guys. And at this point, I think you're playing kind of like a reverse scarf hold kind of position. You're opting to like face their legs, and I think you want to open up their legs and extract that leg. Something you could do is you could attack this kimura. I think you kind of do it a little bit. The cue for that is like if this arm is in front and is isolated, you feel pretty stable, you can attack the kimura. Another thing that I like to do is you could take your right leg is the one that's trapped inside of here. You could take your left leg and install with your shin basically a wedge at the top of their quads, right? And you angle them down, you install that, and it's actually like surprisingly stable. You basically bring your left leg up, and then your shin becomes like a roller coaster safety bar that prevents their legs from connecting to their chest, right? And then with that, you can basically extract your right leg using kind of like a scissoring kind of pressure, so that their legs can't follow you, but you could take your right leg out. Very common kind of pass. I think it's really high percentage for me, and it really depends on how stable you are. Your weight should not be on this hip; it should be on this far hip and this lat. You're basically smothering them at this point, and the only thing you have to really be scared of is if they do some funky octopus guard, if she gets her left arm in and starts to like wrestle up. Those are things you have to be aware of. Here you go to like 3/4 mount. You know, there's opportunities for barambolos. This is basically top bolo. But I think you're going to try to farm some points, which is great. Trying to get the underhook, try to separate it. Another thing you could do here, it's kind of tough because the ref's in the way. But in the same way that I talked about how you could use your free leg to install a like giant bar in front of their legs to prevent them from getting out. I'm sure you know, like from half guard, right? You can use your free leg to basically pummel and then extract. Like you staple their foot and you extract it out. There's a different variation where you can do that. Gordon talks about this in his half guard passing as well, where you actually end up in 3/4 mount. Your right leg can be inside of here. Your left knee actually goes over in front of her hips, and your knee touches the mat here. Your left knee will touch the mat in front of her hips, and the shoelaces of your left foot is going to be actively hooking on the outside of this leg. And then usually what happens is people will feel like, oh crap, this person's like pinning my legs together, and they're going to slowly extract their right leg out, right? And when that's the instance, you should fight for underhooks on both sides. Like, I really think fighting for underhooks on both sides is the safest option. There's obviously some instances where you can't, but that's preferable. The main idea with this kind of this knee across the hip line with the foot perched on top is if they do feel like you're like making progress and they're scared and they want to open up and explode and bridge you off, what ends up happening is they open their knees. You'll feel it. Like all your weight's going to be basically perched on top of the outside of her right leg with your left shoelace, and when she opens up, you could basically just fall right into a mount, right? Because she's opening her legs, which frees your trapped leg, and that's kind of the dilemma you could play from there. I think you secure the pass. Nice. You grab the elbow. That's right. You install it. Look really stable here, dude. Right, knee on belly, try to farm some points. You do a top spin to get to north-south. That's good. There is one thing I want to talk about. Like when you circle here, you actually end up in a position that I'm not sure a lot of people are aware of. I've never seen it have a name, but like my friends have called it purgatory. So where you actually end up is kind of like side control. But the key difference is her arm is trapped. Right there, right? In this position, you're kind of in side control, but the difference is her left arm is trapped in front of her body. And with this position, I can hold anyone. Like I'm very confident in this position. I can hold any person of any weight. And it's just weird. I don't fully understand the body mechanics of it, but when you're pinned in this position and your top arm, that you should be going for an underhook, right? Like that's how she escapes from side control. She pummels this left hand as an underhook and then tries to like shrimp out, blah, 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 get her guard back. But when it's like pinned across, you're just like trapped. Like you can't get any traction moving. Bridging doesn't even do anything. So that is something you could play with. What you would do to secure this position is you take your right arm and you go over the top of her arm and then like underneath her neck here, you can lock your arms. You can basically just chill there for a bit. You can hold down anybody. It's a really strong position. And it also opens you up for darces. I don't know what the hell is it called in the Gia Bravo choke or something like that. But in this position, right, she's basically already set up where she has her arm across, which is what you want, and then your right arm can kind of sneak underneath this elbow and then connect to the collar, I guess. I don't know what it is, but for a darce, you would shoot this through, and you have choke submissions, right? You have options there. So that's something to also keep in mind with this position. It's different than side control, I think. It has its own different pathways. All right, I think you kind of farm some points with knee on belly. Nice, still securing, grabbing the elbow, really good habits. I mean, with that collar grip, I think there's like a Kanto choke opportunity, but I don't know. I think it doesn't really scale that well in gi. I haven't really seen Kanto chokes in like black belt. And then here with this knee on belly, I think she makes a mistake and she stiff arm frames you, right? Like here. Like I feel like there were opportunities where maybe you could grab the sleeve, pull it straight up so there's no slack, and fall down into like an armbar position. But you know, there's nothing wrong with just riding points. You know, that's fine too. And then here, you know, I think you're doing what a lot of people do, where they grapevine and then they sprawl down heavy, right? And it feels like shit on the bottom, but I actually don't think it's that hard to like escape. And I'll talk about why. I think she actually sweeps you here because she's able to trap your elbow while you're trying to fish for an underhook, and then your leg that's actually like inside of here and grapevine, you're removing your own post on your right side, right? So that's, we'll see. Yeah, right. And she gets the sweep. Oh, it's coming up soon, right? Right here, here-ish, right? So you see how like if there's something bridging and throwing you this way on the mats, like what do you have the post right now? You don't have anything, right? You have this knee kind of sorta. I think it's actually safer to have this foot on the outside and you can like kind of duck walk it out, right? Because then you at least have a leg on the outside to stop your body from falling over. And like that's just a dilemma, right? You're gonna fish for this underhook, meaning you don't have your arm to frame. The only thing left is your leg, right? That's the only thing you have. The alternative for that is you could grapevine the opposite leg, because for her to bridge and face her left, I think she has to bridge hard with her right leg, right? It's her right leg that bases because it's her right hip that's coming in this direction that actually moves you in this direction. But if you grapevine this one or kick it out, then that kills the bridge. I also think another thing that is kind of mean, but I learned this and it's great. You can just take your forehead and put it into her jaw on this side and basically just drive into it, like not headbutt her, but you could like frame. It's not nice, feels like shit, but like it kills the ability of this person to bridge this way, right? Like think about it. You're cross-faced and you're facing the right and you want to bridge left, it's just awkward, right? So you would be able to put the spine out of alignment. So if you're fishing for this side underhook, you want their face to face the other way. You could also take this top arm, you could grab the crown of her head, you could pull it so her head is like more geared this way, and then like cross face her that way. The main thing is like when you're fishing for underhooks, you should probably take their spine and neck out of alignment, just because it really drastically reduces the threat of any kind of like bridging. But yeah, boop, no post. So that's why that happens. And then in close guard, I think you actually open up at the end, and the match just like wraps up. You know, close guard is theoretically should be death, but I do see that you open up for close guard, and I don't know, I do it too. I don't think it's wrong, but like I am actively working on trying to make close guard like 100% submission rate, just because there's some freakishly good things you can do there. I would highly recommend you check out Dan Colville. So that's Covel. He's a Marcelo Garcia black belt, and he has like some of the most ridiculous close guard I've ever seen. You should totally check it out. You can just post up on your shoulder, take their back, get arm bars. Like you're just like so fucked. But yeah, overall, good match. I think you did a good job staying on top, farming points. Neat. And for everyone else watching, I don't know if anyone else is watching, but you know, you can support me, buy me a coffee, link in my bio, and then the primary sources of my entire jiu-jitsu game also linked. Support them as well if you want to just hear from like the original source, not from me yapping. But cool.